Hello, everyone, and welcome to another movie review. I am happy that you can join me today. Okay, I have been waiting on The Count of Monte Cristo to come out since May. It premiered at the Cannes Film Festival on May 22nd, if I remember correctly, and I wasn't sure if or when it would be released here in the States. But it is finally in theaters. Yes. And I decided to watch that instead of Mufasa. I have zero interest in watching Mufasa. I think I will wait for it to come out on Disney Plus and watch it then. But the reason why I think Monte Cristo is not getting a lot of attention is because it's in French. But anyway, let's start from the top. The Count of Monte Cristo is an action adventure drama. It was directed by Matthew Delaporte and Alexandre de la Pateliere. So this film has two directors. It stars Pierre Niney as Edmond Dantes, aka the Count of Monte Cristo, or in French, Le Comte de Monte Cristo. I think that's how you pronounce it. It is based on the famous novel by Alexandre Dumas. It was released in theaters in the US yesterday, December 20th. It is in French with English subtitles, and the running time is 3 hours. This is the first Monte Cristo movie I know of that is in French. So that's why I wanted to watch it, because the novel was originally written in French before it was translated into English. And I wanted to see a French version of this story. The most famous version starred Jim Caviezel, and that film came out back in 2002. So that movie is 22 years old. I can't believe it's been that long. That film is shorter and it's in English, and it's actually in my DVD collection. I read a short plot description of the novel, and the 2002 movie cuts out big parts of the book, thereby keeping focus on Edmund's journey. Whereas this version, it doesn't completely stay true to the book, but with a 3-hour runtime, the filmmakers were able to tell more of the story. So I am going to give this film 3 out of 5 stars. I got antsy in my seat because the movie feels long. The novel is so complex, so rich, that I should not have to feel the 3-hour runtime, because there's a lot of material to use from the book. But I do feel the time, and after the 2-hour mark, I was ready to go home. It's kind of like when the kids are sitting in the backseat of the car and they're like, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" That's how I felt about this movie. It just feels long. And just because a movie is long doesn't mean it should feel long. Okay? What I do like about this film, I'm not gonna lie, this one is a revenge story. That is the focus. It is all revenge. The 2002 film started off as a revenge story, but it became a story about forgiveness. And it is a beautiful idea. My favorite scene in that film was when Abe Faria dies, and what Edmund and Faria say to each other is realistic but memorable. However, with this film, you see how Edmund's mission to get revenge on his enemies leads to more sadness and more suffering, to the point where his mission affects the next generation coming after him. Like Albert's generation, because he's old enough to be Albert's father. Abe was trying to teach Edmund that when he finally escapes the Chateau d'If, he should use the treasure for good and forgive the people that wronged him. But let's be realistic. If you are in Edmund's shoes, you were set up to be a scapegoat. You were thrown in jail on an island for no reason and without a trial, and you come across a lot of money. You wouldn't be thinking about forgiveness either, because that is 14 years you can't get back. You want revenge, especially when your enemies profited greatly at your expense. So I like that in this version, Edmund does not let anyone talk him out of revenge. Um, he is on a mission, and he's not giving up until all of his enemies have been avenged. And he even said at one point in the movie that um, he was talking to God, and he was saying that, you know what, God, um, I am going to take your job, and I am going to be the one to be the executioner and the jury, and I'm getting revenge. Um, it sounds like he's putting other people's life into his hands, but he's angry, and I totally understand the anger. And that's why I always felt like Monte Cristo is a character that anyone can relate to, because um I think anger and revenge is um it's plausible when it comes to certain things. There are things that happen to people where you just can't let it go because you reach the point of no return. So even though revenge and anger eventually is a sin, and it's wrong in a lot of different ways, and it just creates more sadness and more suffering. I totally get that, but at the same time, um, some people just can't move on, and Edmund is just one of those people where he cannot move on. In the book, he spent 14 years in the Chateau d'If, followed by a good 15 years trying to carry out his plot for revenge. So yeah, that's a long time, and that requires a lot of patience. And it's just amazing how he's been able to pull off this whole plan, because he himself said in both films that death is too easy. So no, we don't want them dead. We want them to pay. So I totally understand the anger and the need for revenge. So as long as they remake The Count of Monte Cristo every now and then, I will keep watching it, and eventually I'll find the time to read the book. I bought the book this year, but I haven't gotten around to reading it. But I'm hoping that I will get around to reading it. It's a pretty thick book. So it's gonna take a while. It has about 110 chapters. So yeah, it's gonna take a while. If I read one chapter a day, it will take me about 4 months to read the book. So it's a long book, but I'm looking forward to digging my teeth into the story of Edmond Dantes, um, and see where these movies come from. So that is all for today, my friends. I will see you next time with another movie review. Until then, have fun at the movies.